Mom left me alone in the bathtub for a whole 5 minutes. That's all the time it took for 3-year-old me to get out of the tub and start wandering around the rooms upstairs. Somehow, I made it to the open window in my parents' bedroom that overlooked the front yard. Voices drifted up to me, and I heard music from the car radio. My 3 brothers were outside with my dad washing the car. I suppose Mom went down there to check on things after she got me settled in the bath. I can't imagine how they felt when they saw my little body clinging to the gutter on the edge of the roof outside the window. Mom and my brothers ran inside to get a blanket, thinking that they could catch me in it if they all held on to the edges, but there was no way that I could hold on for that long. So Dad stood under the window, and in a calm, reassuring voice, he told me to just fall. So I let go and fell until I met his outstretched arms that slowed me down and broke my fall. What a rush. It was an awakening to new dangers that I never knew existed. It was a quick crash course in how gravity works without the crash. I'm blind. I became blind shortly after I arrived home from the hospital. My twin brother and I were prematurely born and placed in an incubator where too much oxygen was administered. He lost all sight in one eye while I experienced total blindness. It was, I'm sure, extremely heartbreaking and confusing for my family. But instead of simply accepting the bad news and being destroyed by it, Mom got to work. She placed all kinds of objects in my little hands for me to feel. She physically lifted each of my feet and placed them one in front of the other so I could learn to walk. If I couldn't see it, I had to feel it, And she was also very stubborn, and she refused to listen to anything negative, so she rearranged the furniture in the house on a regular basis, simply because a friend of hers casually remarked, "Guess you can't rearrange the furniture in your house anymore now that you have a blind child." And like my mother, I'm also very stubborn and something of a handful. And as a blind child, every day included lots of firsts for me. And more than most, I think I actually went looking for trouble. So I required constant supervision while I was awake, or else I would quietly wander off, just like any other kid. The only thing is, when I wandered off and got lost, I couldn't see to get back. So one of my older brothers would have to get on his bike and come look for me and throw me up on the handlebars and bring me back home. There was a time during recess that I gave one of my second grade teachers a heart attack when she saw me walking up the big playground slide instead of the ladder. Another time during recess, I just plain forgot I was blind and ran at full speed right into the side of the school building and knocked out my tooth. I remember the teacher picking it up and putting it in an envelope for me to take home to put under my pillow for the tooth fairy. My family and the teachers at school were sometimes at a loss because, for most of them, they were at a loss of what to do. For most of them, it was their first time interacting with somebody who was totally blind. So, blindness can be pretty isolating. You can't see what everybody's looking at. You don't make any eye contact with anyone. And some people they're totally frightened of you. I'll walk into some crowded place and people can't scramble out of the way fast enough, I know they're just trying to be polite, but it doesn't stop me and my friends from joking around like, hey, did you see how fast they moved out of the way? They think they were afraid they might get some blind on them, you know. Some other poor people, they'd talk to me when they first met me. They'd speak at the top of their voice to me, you know, when they first met me. Because they didn't know what else to do, and they figured that was the way. And they'd say, hi, do you need assistance? The door is over that way. And I assume this happens to a lot of blind people because I heard of this t-shirt that said, ears work, eyes don't. My family, who are my biggest supporters, they gave me mixed messages too. And they said, Justin, you've got the same opportunities as anybody else, but also you're different. And that all turned out to be true, every bit of it. You know? So growing up, music was a big part of all of our lives. Mom and Dad collected a number of records over the years, and they liked to listen to the radio too, just like, you know. And my grandma Appel played organ for the Presbyterian church. And my mom's dad loved to play harmonica. So it was all around me, and I came by it honestly. So I guess I took to music like a fish to water, without any prompting from anyone. I would pick out little melodies on my grandma's organ. They got wise to it, and before I knew it, I had my own piano. And sometimes music was my only friend when all the other kids ran off to play. And it came so naturally to me that I was totally unaware that other people couldn't do it as easily. So I'd get offended if somebody asked me to play a song. I'd think to myself, why do I have to do it? If you want to hear the song, you play it. It took a long while, but I finally figured out how rare and valuable my gifts were. And I got older, and I figured out that people liked me more when I played music. You know, their fear and discomfort would dissolve and turn into joy. Hey, he's playing music, you know. And, you know, it eased their discomfort and took away most of their anxiety anyway. And you know, I was... instead of the scary blind kid, I was the music man, and that felt a hell of a lot better. I liked that. You know, it was good, and I experienced all kinds of firsts after that. You know, I met all kinds of new friends and made lots of loud noises. You know, we turned it up to 11. You know, had all kinds of fun, and music gave me the opportunity to travel to all kinds of places I might not have ever visited. And you know, it was a good thing. I experienced many other firsts after that, you know, as a blind person that I never thought I would. I rode a bicycle. I spent a few months on a junior high wrestling team. And I went roller skating, all that fun stuff. And with assistance, I drove a go-kart and a motorcycle and many different cars. And most of the time, I came through the experience unhurt, except for when I broke my leg when I was driving a four-wheeler and tipped the thing over. That healed up. I was okay, you know, just like anybody else. I knew that I had to take risks in order to live life to the fullest. So when I was about 19 years old, I decided to go skydiving. And I remember touching the door of the airplane and then nothing but the open, empty space of the sky. And I was full of fear up until that moment. And then I was free falling through the air. The experience was nothing short of amazing. If you can't see it, you've got to feel it. And I felt it, wonder and fascination. So 20 years later, I'm playing a couple of shows with some buddies of mine in California, and the story of my skydiving adventure came up. So after we drank a few beers, we decided to go again. And I can tell you that we were all scared shitless when we were going to get into that airplane. It was a little bitty airplane, a lawnmower with wings. And we were going to take that up about 14,000 feet, and we were going to jump out. And I'd done it before, so I had no reason to be afraid. But, enough time has gone by. I had a chance to think about the consequences if your parachute didn't open. And I even talked to a guy whose parachute didn't open. He lived to tell about it. But the same thing happened just like the first time. My fear pretty much dissolved and was replaced by wonder and amazement. And I think about all the times in my life I've ever been really frightened, and I think I know a little something about fear. We all have it. We can't run from it. And when we face our fear, we find our faith and our key to our connection to each other. Thank you.